we are now opening the floor to questions.
I guess I can ask the questions that are in the chat. Some of them have already been answered, but then, maybe you were thinking that and you haven't read it yet, and so we'll mention it out loud. So the first question, and I think, Peter, this would be for you. Could you compare the rigor or pace of the teaching style at ASU London compared to a traditional teaching style at an American institution?
I'll do my best. I've never taught in the US, so it's probably going to be a little bit hard for me to comment. But what I would probably say, how I could probably best answer this, in terms of aligning the ASU London programs to those at Arizona State University to ensure the transition from the bachelor's to the master's. The one thing I probably would say is that the modules that we have on the ASU London program tend to be a bit larger. So I don't know if this is traditional of the American system, but they tend to be quite, you tend to do quite a lot of modules in very specific areas. And the approach that we've taken is that, and again, this is linked to our pedagogy, in that you'll be studying like a few complementary subjects at one time. So, for example, one of our first year modules on the engineering program, you'll be learning about materials, stress, and CAD all at the same time. So by the end of it, you should be able to design a rudimentary bridge, because those, and it's a really nice project that you can do that combines 2 or 3 engineering topics at once. Whereas in some institutions and in some American programs, I've seen those subjects be taught separately. So I'm not really sure about the actual classroom dynamics, but in terms of the sort of subjects and how the modules taught, that's the main difference I've seen.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. And I think that's the main thing, is that we're just unique in how we teach. So we're going to be very different, and then really it's focusing on that hands-on practical experience. This question has also already been answered, but just in case you were wondering, because we do get this question a lot, if your son or daughter has already been offered to study at Arizona State in the US, and if they're interested in ASU London, do they need to apply again? Or can they simply just transfer? And then any scholarships that they've been awarded to Arizona State, do those apply at ASU London? So Hannah, would that be you, or Harrison?
Yeah, I can answer a part of that. So the first part of the question is, will they be required to submit another application? And the answer is yes, as we are 2 different countries, and ASU London is a separate entity from Arizona State University. So what that means is, yes, your son or daughter, or anybody who would like to transfer to ASU London, will have to submit a new application. So I promise it's not tough to apply. So we have our admissions portal open now. So what you will have to do is provide your information to us. We also want to get to know your academic background, and of course, why you actually want to become or why you want to study at ASU London. So that will be outlined in your personal statement. And after you've provided all of the requirements, then we will be able to make a decision whether to provide you with a conditional offer, which comes with different other requirements, or unconditional offer, which means you're in. The next step will be to apply for your visa. And in terms of the second part, where will the Arizona State University's scholarships offering get transferred? So unfortunately not, but as I've mentioned earlier, we do have our very own scholarship offering. And if you were to apply to us, you are also automatically considered for the scholarships, and you won't have to submit a separate application to it. I hope that answered the question.
I think so, Hannah. Thank you very much. That's great. So yeah, so if you were admitted to Arizona State in the US, doesn't mean you're automatically admitted to ASU London, but the admission process is very simple. And you can just find all of those resources right on our website, or you can contact me, you can contact the London team, and we can get those questions answered for you as well. The next question may be for Peter. If you get an engineering degree with ASU London, do you know if it's recognized by the Professional Engineers Ontario in Canada?
I don't know about that professional body specifically, but the way I can best answer this is that there's an international agreement called the Washington Accord that most engineering bodies for each country have signed up to. So in the UK, that's the Engineering Council, and in the US, it's ABET. So what that Washington Accord agreement is that it's a recognition of each other's, of all the signatories. It's a recognition of each other's accredited programs, if that makes sense. So I don't know if the body in Canada has signed it, but if they have, then yes, they would be.
Thank you,
Does that make
Peter.
sense?
And
Does that make sense?
it made sense for me. And also remember that, you're probably going to do your 3 years in London, then you do your last year in the US at Arizona State University. And as Peter had mentioned, the ABET accreditation or whatever, that's what you would get. You would end, that would be your final degree. So I'm sure it might be covered in Canada as well. The next question is, what are the housing options? That's a really good question.
I'll take that. With currently ASU London, we don't have our very own halls of residence, as we call them in the UK. However, we do have our partner accommodation companies that we vetted and, of course, trust. So we do have the list of them on our website. What usually happens is upon application, then we do provide assistance when it comes to finding housing, and further information will be given to you after you have done all of your preparations and after you provided everything that's required from you when you apply. But in terms of different sorts of accommodations in central London, especially in Islington area anyhow, there are various students-only accommodations. So at the moment in Canada Water, we have one called Scape, which is literally 2 minutes walk away from campus. And sometimes our students, would come on time as they live very close. And there are also, so in London, we also have excellent transport links. So you can get from point A to point B using public transport. And I think Fred can definitely attest to that. And wherever you may be in London, you will still be able to travel into campus. And a good perk of being a student as well is you get a discount when it comes to transportation.
Thank you, Hannah. And I think we kind of answered this question already, but it's a little bit more personal. Are there quarters for minors and their guardian?
So in terms of specific accommodation for minors, there are various accommodations all over London. So depending on, of course, your requirements or any particular, budgets, there's always going to be, available housing for you.
Thank you, Hannah. And what are the fees for the year? It says for the year abroad, but what are the fees per year?
So when they say year abroad, do they mean the study abroad or the usual fees?
Good question. I'm thinking they mean for the year, the fees at ASU London.
Okay. With the fees, so obviously it varies whether you are a UK student or a non-UK student. But at the moment, for 2025, so the UK and Ireland fees is 9,275 per year. And for our international students, it's 23,600. But as I've mentioned, for our international students, they're automatically considered for the scholarships. Now, with the scholarship, it will be deducted from your tuition fees. So again, you won't have to make a separate application for it if you are an international student. Whilst for our UK students, there are various funding available for them, but they do have some eligibility criteria. So we do have scholarships and also bursaries. So in the UK, if you are a UK student, so bursaries is obviously free money that will help you with your maintenance fees, whilst the scholarships will be deducted from your tuition fees. I hope that answered the question.
I think it did. And then do we have, so really good question about transfer students. So if my student already has college credits, can they be able to transfer over to ASU London?
Yeah, I actually answered that one in the chat. I'm trying to get a few in there. So we have a policy of what's called RPL, recognition of prior learning, and it depends what the credit is. So it would be typically done on a case-by-case basis, because what we do as part of that process is we look at the credit that's been awarded, what level it was at, what the content was covered, and then we need to map that to our own program to make a decision as whether that prior learning can be officially recognised by us or not, if that makes sense, because then that's kind of linked to our own accreditation requirements and our own rigor that we were talking about earlier, because we need to make sure that by the end, when the students have completed the course, they've learned everything they meant to.
Thank you.
So it's not a straight answer, I'm afraid.
It depends. And I think
Depends,
that's always
yes.
a good answer to say it depends, but we can work with that. Also, a really good question, it's actually from a counselor, but it could apply to even students and families. Do we host events that college counselors or students and families can do to visit the campus in London?
Yeah, they're very welcome to come and visit us. So if it's going to be a family, so we do have our open days. That's when we showcase our campus, but as we are moving to a new campus, the dates are yet to be decided. But again, if you happen to be in London earlier next year, then we'd be happy to host you on campus. And if there's anything in particular that you want to have a look, or would like to, or any person you'd like to speak to, that's something that we can also arrange for. So they can get in touch with the London team at hello@asu-london.ac.uk. And I am going to put that email in the chat.
Thank you, Hannah, for that answer. And then we have a parent that says that, they're a little bit confused. Are the courses in the US, in the UK, so the students that do ASU London, are they required to do Arizona State in the US? Like, is the year in the US mandatory?
Is a simple answer to that. So what we're offering is obviously a choice, and it's a really good choice if you want to take it. But if you want to come out to ASU London, do the bachelor's here and then complete and go into the workplace, that's fine. And obviously, if you want to go on to do a master's wherever you want to, that's fine. But what we are offering here, and hence the alignment with the and with the Arizona State programs, is we're offering a smoother route to go and do the masters at Arizona State University, should you wish to, but it's not compulsory.
Thank you, Peter. And then we have someone that was interested in Teddy, but they're wondering, are the links to King's and Sydney in effect, or do they no longer exist?
It's not that they no longer exist. Obviously the links with Arizona State University have strengthened, but we still have students going out to UNSW in the new year to do their projects out there. So those links are still there currently.
That's great to hear. And then how many students per class, and are classes taught by professors or by teaching assistants?
Yeah, so again, I saw on the chat. So they'll be taught by our academic team, which is, I think, what the American term is professors, but we use slightly different terms. So the academic staff or faculty would be teaching, and teaching assistants would be just that, assisting, and they wouldn't be leading a class. In terms of numbers, that obviously depends on the year, but we tend to work in a roughly a sort of 25-to-1 ratio, so 25 students per academic. Any more than that, then obviously, there's particularly for our style of teaching, you won't get the same sort of feedback and attention from the academic team, but it's certainly not one academic stood in front of 500 students lecturing at them. That is not what we're about.
Thank you, Peter. And what is the acceptance rate for computer science? I don't know if we have those statistics yet.
No, we don't have those. It's a new course, so we don't have those.
Great. And then Peter mentioned entry requirement for the masters as being above 2 to 2. So that means 2 to 1 or above. For example, 2 to 2 is not enough.
Yeah, so if it's a 2-2, that would be what you would need. But I think, can you confirm that, Hannah? I should have had it on me. Is it 2?
Yeah, no worries. At the moment, yes. The progression agreement that we have requires a minimum of 2-2. So
Yeah.
I guess sort of like, the degree classifications in the UK, because we don't have the Latin honors. Yeah, so the highest that you can get is obviously the first class. And then we have 2-1 or the upper second class, then the lower second class, and then, a basic degree without the honors. So a 2-2 will be the minimum requirement for you to then progress into the master's course at Arizona State University.
Great, thank you, Hannah. And then how do the students get visas? Do they apply to the U.S. Embassy or the UK? Since we are two ASUs.
No, of course. So I just wanted to reiterate that Arizona State University and ASU London are completely separate entities. So when you apply and have met all the conditions of your offer, you can then start the next process, which is the visa application process. And what happens is we will provide you with all the guidance as well as all of the documents that you will need to provide. Yeah, and then after that, you will be applying at a designated place, in your country where you will be applying for your visa. So sometimes it is not necessarily the embassy, but they have designated places depending on where you are from. You can also speak to your enrollment advisor in regard to this, and they will be able to provide more information. And yep. So thank you all so much for sending us a lot of questions. I'm afraid we only have about 5 minutes until the session ends. So do feel free to send us your questions. And if we're unable to answer them in this particular session, then we're happy to come back to you with the answers.
Thank you, Hannah. And a really good question. What is the accreditation of ASU London? How long has this engineering program been in existence?
Yeah, so in the UK, it's we don't get accredited by an institution. We get each course is accredited individually. Is the way it works in the UK. So the Global Design Engineering course is accredited by both the Institute of Engineering Technology, the IET, and the Institute of Engineering Designers, the IED. So that course is accredited. The electrical engineering, computer science, business management are not currently accredited, and that's not because they're not. It's because they're not eligible to be accredited. So in the UK, you need for a program to completely run through before you can apply for accreditation. We have accreditation for other programs. I've been talking to the IET about the engineering programs we have and working very closely with them to make sure that we're on track to get accreditation when we're at a point that we can apply for it.
Thank you, Peter, which is very different from the US and accreditation here. And then would the rigor at ASU London be similar to studying undergrad at Arizona State University? And how is it going to be different than studying in the States?
Sorry, can you repeat that question, Fred? I didn't quite catch it.
Yeah, sorry. So would the rigor at ASU London be similar to studying your undergrad at Arizona State? And how would it be different than studying in the US?
So like I said earlier, I haven't taught there, so I'm not, if that's what that question's relating to. But I mean, we've already gone through that mapping process, so we've obviously understanding each other's content and academic rigor, if that makes sense, and that's how we obviously decided on what would be the threshold to transition from one to the two. So I don't know, I'm not sure quite understand the question. Hopefully that makes sense. Is that what it's referring to?
Yeah, I think I can answer it. So ideally, the big difference is that in the US, it would take you 4 years at Arizona State University to get that bachelor's degree. It'll only take you 3 years to get it at ASU London. And the biggest difference is that you don't have a lot of those electives that you would have in the US that you can take in London. So you're able to speed up your bachelor's degree in 3 years instead of getting it in 4 years, which is what you would normally get it in the US. I think that would answer that question. And I think, Hannah, are we done with our time, or do we have one more question?
I think we definitely have, space for one more question, or if the answer is short, then two.
Okay, so Teddy had 2 intakes per year. Does ASU London also do this?
Oh, I will take that question.
Comment.
Yes, at the moment, ASU London only has September intake. Yeah, so everybody will be joining us in September 2026 if they manage to fulfill all of their requirements. Mhm.
Beautiful. And then I guess
Yep.
the last question would be, is there a way that we can see what a student timetable for mechatronics or other degrees would be? They mean more on weekly lessons.
Okay, so it's typically, and this would be true of most of the courses, around in the order of 6 hours of contact time per module per week. And I think we're doing 2 terms, so it's sort of 12 hours of contact time or timetable time per module per week. But obviously there's self-study outside of that. We have the facilities, because of the nature of our courses, again, students are always in the workshops, even if it's not direct timetabled contact time.
Beautiful. And I think that's it. I think that's all the time that we have. I will turn it back to Hannah to take us away.
Yep, great. Well, thank you all so much for all the questions and for giving us the opportunity to also clarify a lot of our points and to also provide the answers. So again, I hope everybody have a lovely morning, afternoon, and even evening. And if you have any follow-up questions after this session, please feel free to email us either at hello@asu-london.ac.uk or the enrollment advisors that have been assigned to you. Thanks, everyone. And this session has been recorded, so it will also be disseminated and sent to you at some point. Cheers. Have a lovely holiday, everybody. Bye.